The truth about communication is that if you still have old patterns and trauma responses running in the background, it doesn't matter how good your techniques are, you're still going to revert to that fear. The more that I teach, the more that I realize you have to understand at what is at the heart of communication. First and foremost, you need to feel safe. And that starts by feeling safe in here. You can't control other people. You can't control what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, or how they're going to feel about what you're doing. But you can guarantee that you are coming from a safe place and that you feel safe being there. And when you feel safe, you're more willing to show up in the conversation. And when you're more willing to show up in the conversation, there is a greater likelihood for things to change. So how do you actually do this? First, you need to understand this thing called everyday trauma. I've coined the phrase because not all trauma is the big T trauma. The really big things that we connect trauma to, bullying or physical abuse or being in a war zone or extreme moments of danger. Those are sort of the big things that we connect big T trauma to. But there are a lot of things in our lives that can cause little t trauma or everyday trauma. And these are things that cause us to redefine how we view the world or redefine how we think or feel we engage and interact with the world. And when we have those memories, those moments that make us feel cringy on the inside or really uncomfortable, those are signals that a defining moment happened for us and we have never addressed it. And those cringy or hot and cold or painful memories are moments where we developed sort of a safety mechanism so that those things wouldn't happen again. Those also result in 4 different traumatic responses. So I think we have mostly all heard of fight or flight, but there are 2 other lesser known responses that are also freeze and fawn. Now, fight means we're gonna go at it. We're ready for a fight. We're ready to get up in somebody's grill. Flight means we are turning and running the other way. Freeze means that we're just so overwhelmed by adrenaline and what we're feeling that we can't move, and we're mentally trying to remove ourselves from the situation. And the 4th is fawn. And when we fawn, we are trying to schmooze or soothe the ego or get in good with the people that we're with. Generally an authority figure, but it could be anybody that is just making us feel unsafe. Okay, you're probably going, what in the world does that have to do with communication? If you have a moment growing up as a child or sometime in your past that defined communication for you, based on how that interaction happened and how you feel about it moving forward, you're generally going to revert to one of these 4 things: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so as you move forward in your life and you're preparing for a conversation, you might have all of the best techniques in your tool belt, but if you don't know how to respond in these or how to support yourself when you're feeling these things, those techniques are all going to go out the window. So I'm going to give you a very brief way to help yourself so that you can see when you're falling into these things. But your best bet is to stay tuned for my 6-part course that actually dives in and talks about how to face these and how to move forward by healing yourself and helping yourself feel safe. So a little story. When I was 8 years old, I absolutely loved going to reading time in the library. And I knew the day every month when we were going to go up to the loft. And this one day we all came in from recess and we were really late. And my 2nd grade teacher told all of us we had to go get our pencils. But I knew that today was reading day. So I told everybody that it was reading day and that we didn't need our pencils and we could just go. Everybody believed me. So we all left our pencils and we ran out the door and we went to the library. We got to the library and the librarian said we did need our pencils that day and asked us where they all were. Everybody in the room looked at me and went, she did it. So the librarian looked at me with a bit of a huff and kind of a scary look, at least it looked scary to an 8-year-old, and said, why would you do that? I wasn't trying to cause problems. I wasn't trying to be mischievous. I just didn't think we needed them that day. So we ended up climbing up to the stairs and having reading time, and it lost a whole ton of its shine that day. That day, I determined that I never wanted to disappoint an adult ever again. That day, I determined that it was not safe to trust myself because things could change and then people would look at me and it would be awkward and it wouldn't be good. I took that belief and ran with it for 18 years. And figured that I always had to make good with the authority figure. I always had to know everything that they were thinking. I couldn't think for myself. And I looked for all of the proof every day of my life to support that conclusion that I had made. So what does this mean about communication? It means that any time that I went in where I felt like there were stakes, when I was talking to an authority figure and I could get in trouble, I was always going to fawn. I wasn't going to speak my mind. I wasn't going to say what I thought and what I felt. And in order to change that, I had to go back to that moment and realize what else could be true. I had to realize that she had had a bigger day and one 8-year-old probably didn't make her day or break her day. I needed to see my 8-year-old self and give myself permission to do it differently. So my invitation to all of you is to look at moments in your life where you still feel shame, you feel cringy, you feel hot or cold, and it just makes you stop up. How did those memories affect how you engage in communication? How do they affect how you engage in sharing your thoughts and your ideas? And the next time you go in to share or to teach, figure out which one of those fears is coming up and figure out your response. Are you fighting? Are you flighting? Are you freezing? Or are you fawning? And then you can give yourself space to feel safe, to see yourself before you enter into that conversation. And you'll find that you feel a lot safer in that conversation and you're much more prepared to actually show up as yourself. Like I said, my course is coming out later this year. Please stay tuned. I'm so excited for it. And please like and subscribe if this information is helpful for you as you go out to change the world with your communication. See you next time, guys. Bye.